Hi, bookish friends. My name is Alyssa, and I am the host of Stories and Spoilers, the podcast. First things first, I'm sure you can hear it's been a very long day. It may be the beginning of the day for you, it may be midday, evening, but for me, it is the end of the day. And I just wanted to talk about this amazing book that I've been reading. This week's book is a contemporary romance. It has a planned pregnancy. So there's actually a character who wants to be a single father, and he's in search of a surrogate. And there's reasons why. And I think it's very sweet that his ultimate goal was to become a dad. He has recently experienced a loss of his father, so he really wants to continue his legacy. He builds houses. He has a pet coat. He also is like a Taylor Swift fan, so there's a lot going on. This curvy rep, it's really cute. It does have spice. So this episode is kind of it's going to be kind of like a double punch where I'm going to discuss this book, and then I'm also going to give you a few recommendations that kind of match the vibes. And if you end up reading this book and loving it, you can't fall into a book slump because you'll be able to have these recommendations. So, first things first, I read The 9 Month Contract by Amy Daws. This book was so cute. I got a sprayed edges version at Target for like 50% off. The edges have this beautiful black and red kind of pleating. It looks a lot like flannel. And then the bottom has these little goats that have hearts on them, and it's absolutely adorable. I'm going to read the back of the book, and then I'm going to give my own little description, the book tropes, things that I loved. And this is a non spoiler episode. So you can read this book and not have to worry about me spoiling any of it for you. And it's just really, really cute. I enjoyed the spice. I enjoyed the chemistry. The main character, Wyatt, and his love interest, are just really magnetic. I thought they were really cute from the very beginning. He's grumpy. She's definitely giving sunshine, quirky. The vibes of this reminded me a lot of Mia Sheridan's Travis, just because you have two characters who probably wouldn't go very well together, but their chemistry is so off the marks that it makes you want to kind of see them have a happy ending. So the back of the book says, "Help wanted. Grumpy mountain man seeks baby mama. Job is in incubator position only. Surrogate must be impervious to grunting as a form of communication. And nosy brotherly neighbors. Rustic mountain range housing available upon request." I wanted to pummel my irritating brothers when they posted their own version of a wanted ad to help me with my life. But I can't fault the results once the right woman lands in my lap. Becoming a single father is not a decision I made lightly. In fact, it is the biggest decision of my life, which is why when I interviewed Trista, I know she's perfect. She's wild, she's opinionated, she wears cowboy boots, even my pet goat loves her. She is the exact type of person I was holding out for. And to my great terror, I realized on our first night of attempting this baby making dance, when the lights are low and the cheap wine is flowing and the at home insemination supplies are laid out on the kitchen counter, I want to do a lot more than just make her my surrogate. I want to make her mine. This book is so cute. Wyatt has a lot of brothers, so I know this is probably a series. This is my first Amy Daws book, and I'm really glad that I actually dove into this little book because I was having a really crappy day, and I found this book at Target. I don't shop at Target very often. This is probably the last time I'm shopping at Target. If you know, you know. But I'm glad I went. It just happened to be across the street from where I was, and I'm glad I went because this book I have not been able to stop reading. I read it at the gym. I read it on my lunch break. I read it before bed. I found myself wondering what was going to happen next. It was just a really nice story. The stakes were low. Wyatt was absolutely adorable. He did give me a little bit of Mr. Darcy vibes because he's misunderstood a lot. Like he tries to say certain things and he tries to like do acts of service and to show her he cares through his actions, but when he doesn't communicate it very clearly, you can see how it could come off very like pushy and controlling. But for him, he's just like, if she mentions that she wants a croissant, he will buy her croissants every single day. You know what I mean? Like if she mentions her back hurts with the pregnancy, he got her a new mattress because he didn't want her to not sleep comfortably. He was reading baby books. Like he was heavily invested in being a father, but also just being respectful and compassionate to his surrogate and also his friend. And then their love story just kind of goes from there. So this was absolutely adorable. Some of the book tropes is curvy female main character. This is great for animal lovers as Trista is really, she wants to be a vet. And she wants to have her own land with the money that she would get from the surrogacy to create like a rescue for animals that may have been kind of pushed away by people in society. So each chapter, actually, you get to see like how far along she is in the pregnancy, but also how many animals are on the mountain that he lives on. Because at first, when she first moves in, she has one animal. But as the story goes on, she ends up falling in love with even more animals and bringing them onto the land, and he can't say no to her. It is really, really cute. I know the pregnancy trope is not for everyone, so I know this book will not be for everyone. But for me personally, it's a trope that's kind of growing on me, just because it kind of puts both characters in a position where they need to be very understanding of each other, understand each other's positions and where they currently are in this major life change. This pregnancy trope was planned, which I thought was really sweet, just because you get to see why he wants to be a single father. You get to understand a little bit more about his dynamic with his brothers and his niece. It was very heartwarming to kind of get from his perspective why he wanted to be a father. And then you also get to see a little bit more of kind of that trope of like golden retriever and black cat. In this book, this was the first time I've ever read where both characters are a little bit prickly at times, and they have both of them have golden retriever elements. Obviously he's a lot more grumpy, but he had moments where like he wanted to be close to her and she would kind of push him away, and you begin to discover why, like she wants to be a surrogate, her relationship with her family, as well as her falling in love with him and what that looks like with their different like life paths. So that was really, really cute. I also want to say that you get dual POV. This book felt really, really short. I want to say it's around 400 pages, and it does have a little epilogue. So I've really been enjoying it. I also should say there are Taylor Swift references in this, which I thought was absolutely adorable. I really liked that he was a Swiftie, that he made an entire slideshow for his niece about like why she should go to the concert, and then he surprises her with concert tickets. I just thought it was really, really cute how you get to see a little bit of like Wyatt from his family's point of view, and then you also get to understand like his past relationships, and it just you also get to understand a little bit more about Trista and why she is so attached to animals and just that independent streak, and you get to understand a little bit more about her. There is definitely spice in this. I would say this is a pretty hot cappuccino. The sexy scenes come later in the book. They're more in like the 50 to 60% mark. Like you're not going to see it till much later. There's a lot of yearning. It's a little bit of a slow burn to me because you don't get that till later on, but it was amazing. This book had a lot of humor as well. I found myself laughing a lot. So if you like a romance that does not take itself too seriously and has a lot of humor, but also does discuss like some heavy topics, this was amazing. So I highly recommend The 9-Month Contract by Amy Daws. I would read more of her books. I hope I can read more of her books and maybe even have her on the podcast. Who knows? You never know. But I just really, really adored this. And I had to rank this like a 5-star. This is going to be one of my favorite romance books of the month and maybe even of the year. I have never read a book that had these vibes exactly. So this was like the love child of like a Kayla Gross. Because of that, like the banter and the spice and the chemistry. For people who know Kayla Gross, she has a lot of like really beautiful curvy representation romances as well. This felt like a Kayla Gross book plus like a little bit of like Mia Sheridan, just because it does discuss some heavier topics. There's humor, this found family. It was just really, really beautiful. So I highly, highly recommend The 9-Month Contract. I will link this book along with all the books that I reference in this episode in the show notes below. So you can just copy and paste the title and the author's name and then just put it in your Goodreads. So they'll all be linked in my Spotify. Then on YouTube, I'm still figuring out how to do that, but this was absolutely amazing. So first things first, if you want spice and you want a book that kind of matches the spice level, a little bit of like the we shouldn't be together, but I still want you. If you want a book with those vibes, then I highly recommend Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This one does have an age gap, but this one I wanted to recommend because I couldn't get over like the longing and the spice. And the more I learned about Wyatt and like his past and like how much he didn't really tell her about it so much later because it still hurt him. It reminded me a lot of the love interest in this book. For those who don't know, this is one of my favorite spicy, like taboo, we shouldn't be together, but I want you kind of vibes. This is an ex-boyfriend's dad trope, so it's not for everyone, but for the girlies who love spice and are okay with a little bit of taboo elements, Birthday Girl is just the perfect introduction to that. It's a great summer read, so let me tell you a little bit more about it. True love comes from the most forbidden places in this TikTok smash hit from New York Times bestselling author Penelope Douglas. Also, fun fact, I actually met Penelope Douglas at a book event recently. She was so sweet. Shout out to my friend Calissa because we went together and I really liked meeting her. So heads up, she was actually a very sweet person. Jordan and her boyfriend have nowhere else to go when her boyfriend's dad, Pike, offers to let them move in with him. Working a dead-end job with her relationship on the rocks, she reluctantly accepts, expecting to help out around the house in exchange. What she doesn't anticipate is her heart to race every time Pike pulls into the driveway, or for her cheeks to burn when their eyes meet over the kitchen table. He is kind, listens to her, protects her in a way no man ever has. Her sister once told her there was no good men, and if you find one, he's probably unavailable. Only Pike isn't the unavailable one. She is. As the days go by, Pike is finding it anything but impossible to have his son's girlfriend living in his house. He can't stop thinking about her and holding his breath every time they cross paths. It feels like she's becoming a part of him, except he knows they're not free to give into this. How could they when she's his son's girlfriend? Spoiler alert, they do break up. The boyfriend and the main character do break up. So she ends up being his ex-girlfriend, if that makes you feel better. And the son, like in this book, he's such an asshole. Like I did not feel bad at all that he gets dumped because he's absolutely horrific. But if you're looking for spice, if you're looking for longing, if you're looking for a grumpy male love interest who like wanted her the whole time, I highly recommend Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. Okay, so I didn't have a book that matched the like lumberjack vibes in this one. A honorable mention would be X's and O's by Layla Gross, or I think it's Kayla Gross. I'm so sorry. But yes, I would recommend X's and O's if you're looking for like a lumberjack poly like sexy relationship. If you want that, that's the first lumberjack book that comes to mind. But if you're looking for like he is grumpy, sexy, outspoken, a romantic, and there's a lot going on, and he's misunderstood. And she's a little bit like has like a past with her family that relates to who she is now. I recommend Flawless by Elsie Silver. I wanted to recommend this book to kind of pair with 9 Month Contract because in Flawless you have a bit of a situation. They meet because it's partially a work situation. Like she is part of her job to kind of care for him, be there for him, make sure he stays on the straight and narrow. And in the 9 Month Contract, based off the title, of course, there is a contract where Trista is completing a task. It is a job. And in this one, there's also a job element. So I thought I would kind of pair those. So this is also a series, by the way, which follows each book is one of the brothers' romances. Same thing with 9 Month Contract. Each book is about one of the romances for the brothers. But in Flawless by Elsie Silver, this is a cowboy romance. And it says, the rules were simple. Keep my hands off his daughter. But now I'm stuck with her. And there's only one bed. And well, rules are made to be broken. I'm the golden boy of a professional bull riding, or at least I was until it blew up in my face. Now my agent says I have to clean up my image. So I'm stuck with his ball-busting daughter for the rest of the season as my full-time supervision. But I don't need a goddamn babysitter, especially one with skin-tight jeans and a sexy smirk and a mouth she can't stop running, a mouth I can't stop thinking about. She says this means nothing. I say this means everything. She says there are boundaries we shouldn't cross. My reputation can't take any more hits, and neither can her damaged heart. I say I'm going to steal it anyway. Oh my God. So this is actually a super, super cute book. This is also dual POV. I really, really enjoyed the father-daughter relationship in Flawless between the female love interest and her dad. I just really, really appreciated that like found just her deep connection to family and how much it mattered to her, especially with her dad and her. And for me, that like found family, so important element, which is a key part of the 9-month contract. You can get that element in Flawless, the same way Wyatt has like that found family, like super tight knit family relationship with his brothers. Okay. My next recommendation is actually going to be an upcoming episode with the author, and that is Wishful Thinking by Celeste Martin. So this book, if you're looking for beautiful writing, which you will find in the 9-month contract, you can read Wishful Thinking. If you also like a small town element, and you also really enjoy like siblings and banter, which 9-month contract has, I highly recommend Wishful Thinking. This one does have a Black love interest and main character, so I had to throw a little bit of melanin in it. But this book is absolutely wonderful, and I'm excited to interview the author very soon. But I did want to add this because I have never read a book that had such beautiful writing and intricate elements to it, between the love, between the sibling relationships, also life goals, and like kind of where you are in your life, and if the love interest also is in a similar position. In both these books, they are not going in the same direction. One person wants one part of their life, this is my plan, and the other person's kind of, hey, I have my own plans, I didn't kind of consider you, you're a bit of a surprise, like you kind of just hopped into my life and I'm falling for you. That is in Wishful Thinking, and you'll also find that in the 9-month contract. So what happens in Wishful Thinking? Love is the tricky spell of all. Lucinda Carraway loves living in Freya Grove, the mystic seaside town where charms, hexes, and magical beings of all kinds are the norm. She spends her days teaching high school history and her nights reading tea leaves and tending to her conjure garden. It's a good life, but she can't stop wishing for more. Until one night, that wish turns into a spell, and suddenly Lucy can't say no, not to a public karaoke performance, not to running a 10K, and most alarmingly, not to her high school crush, Alexander Dwyer, who needs her help unjinxing his new house, which just happens to be right across the street from hers. Alex has spent the last 10 years traveling the world on adventures Lucy has only dreamed of, and he's planning to leave again as soon as his house is safe to sell. But until Lucy can unhex herself, she and Alex are stuck together. And with so much magic in the air, maybe the next spell Lucy casts will be the one that convinces him to stay. This book was so cute. This book just had a beautiful, like, scoop you off your feet, like make you fall hard. It was always you vibes. And I liked this because he was still in love with her when he met his love interest in this one. And what I like about that is when he sees her, feelings, so many feelings instantly, versus with Wyatt and Trista, when he first meets her, it's charming and there is a bit of a pull. So I really enjoy that. Not insta love, more like instant interest. You intrigue me, and I really love that in a book. So Wishful Thinking, highly recommend. If you are okay with a pregnancy trope, and you don't mind it being more of a surprise, hear me out. I've discussed this book 1,000 times. This is going to be Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. This book has surprise pregnancy trope as well as disability rep. And I really enjoyed the banter, the friends to lovers, and that element of like, who takes care of you? Like, I want to care for you. This was absolutely adorable. And the main character in Out on a Limb, like her personality reminded me a lot of Trista from 9-month Contract. I thought they could have been friends if they met. So this is really cool. Also, this book also has, with each chapter, like the size of the baby. And in the 9-month Contract, it had how many weeks, like, I guess she was along, like how far along she was. So I kind of like those parallels a little bit. Two different authors, but these books could have easily been like cousins, So what is Out on a Limb about? Winifred Wynne McNutley has always been wildly independent and not one to be coddled for her limb difference. Wynne has spent most of her life trying to prove that she can do it all on her own, with some minor adjustments. She's done just fine. Hooking up at a costume party with an incredibly charming beau changes everything. Wynne finds out she's pregnant and decides to keep the baby, while Beau was surprisingly elated to step to the plate. Wynne is unsure whether she can handle this new challenge. Together, Win and Bo decide to get to know each other as friends and nothing more, while they embark on this parenting journey together. But as they both should know by now, life rarely goes according to plan. So out on a limb, they slept together at this party. And then she's like, "Oh my God, I'm pregnant." And it was supposed to be a one night stand. But Bo's also gone through a lot. And he ends up seeing this as an opportunity to be a father. And they decide to be co-parents and be friends and then end up falling in love. The similarities between Out on a Limb and the 9 month contract are very interesting because in this one, in 9 month contract, Wyatt wants to be a single father and he's pursuing the pregnancy and that experience because that's his ultimate goal is to be a single dad. And Out on a Limb, you have Bo who's surprised by the pregnancy and is just elated about it. The reactions they both have when they find out these women are pregnant is just really cute. But also, both of them agree in 9 month contract and in Out on a Limb, they both agree to be friends, which I thought was really cute because it kind of took that friends to lovers element in an interesting, very like real life way where it's like, okay, we're in this situation, let's be friends, let's figure it out together, this is a team effort. And I really really like that. So Out on a Limb, I highly recommend. Two for two. If you are looking for a bit of an enemies to lovers and a contemporary romance where it's like, let's share the space and figure out how to live together and make this work, and you like found family and you also really enjoy a story that has like realistic elements like, hey, I'm in the situation, let's figure this out as a team, I highly recommend another Hannah Bowen book, which is Next of Kin. This book has a male love interest who I imagined is Channing Tatum. It's important. It's important. Also, Next of Kin has deaf representation. The male love interest, his brother is deaf. And it was really beautiful how a lot of the problems and struggles that the male love interest goes through, he previously had a really abusive father. You get to see him grow and become a very present brother. And he kind of steps up and takes on that fatherly role. And you also get to see with Wyatt how he had a really, really bad heartbreak. He went through something really, really traumatizing in his past. And you get to see him approach love and approach being an uncle and approach kind of stepping in as a fatherly role for his niece in a lot of ways. His niece has a father, but like he steps up and he kind of shares the role as like, how can I be a supportive family member to his niece? You get to see that parallel, which is really beautiful. So it's a very specific trope, but I love when there's a family member who steps up in a major way to be there for like a younger sibling or a niece or a nephew. It was really beautiful. So let me tell you a little bit more about Next of Kin. When people-pleasing Chloe learns that her birth mother was unexpectedly had another baby, she didn't hesitate to become next of kin guardian. But when she fails to pass the Child Protective Services financial evaluation, she is faced with a choice: see her baby sister placed in foster care or participate in CPS's new initiative, where two prospective guardians join households to qualify. Enter Warren, a surly mechanic's apprentice attempting to get custody of his deaf 15-year-old brother. From the moment Warren drives up 30 minutes late, blasting music out of his car, Chloe is convinced this is a very bad idea. The two immediately clash, but eventually agree to live together for the sake of their younger siblings. As their lives intertwine, Chloe adjusts to caring for her newborn sister. She begins to see a new, softer side of Warren. In fact, they're far more similar than she could have imagined. What started out forces begins to feel neutral and far less lonely. Chemistry soon intensifies beyond what either one of them could understand. But is their mutual attraction worth risking everything they've fought for? This book is so, so cute. I wish more people talked about it. I just really, really love as well. The enemies to lovers element is more like when they first meet, it's very rocky. And it's not until like the middle of the book where they really do begin to become friends. But the banter and the like kind of the clashing a little bit and trying to make the best out of the situation where they're two very like hard-headed people reminded me a lot of 9 month contract because Trista does not want help from anyone, but she needs it. She needs support. She needs a friend. and Wyatt really wants to be that support and be that like helper for her. You also get to see that with Chloe and Warren, because Chloe is trying to do a lot on her own, whereas Warren wants to kind of help out in some situations where she may need help with her sister. So this was absolutely adorable. And then my last recommendation, I feel like I bring up this book all of the time, but it's only because it is one of my absolute favorites. And that is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. In this book, you follow someone who has been through so many things in life and should honestly, both Bree and Archer have been through a lot. This also has deaf representation. But I think it's deaf and mute. Don't quote me on that, but Archer's been through a lot. But I do feel like in this book, I saw a lot of Trista from the 9-month contract, just because Trista had a really hard life growing up. So her approach to love and accepting love is very slow. It takes time. There's miscommunication. And there's a lot of kind of relearning love and allowing someone in. And you also get that in Archer's Voice. Archer's been through a lot. Bree's been through a lot. And they're learning how to love each other. And it's very, very beautiful. So what is Archer's Voice about for the girls who have not heard about it? Okay. When Bree Prescott arrives in the small town of Pelham, Maine, all she wants is to forget her past and everything she's left behind. But the moment she meets Archer Hale, her entire world tilts on its axis, and nothing will ever be the same again. Strange, silent, and isolated, Archer communicates with no one. Yet when Bree stares into his whiskey-colored eyes, something intangible happens between them. There's so much more to Archer than his beauty, his presence, or the ways his hands communicate with Bree. But in town of Pelion is mired by secrets and betrayals, and Archer is the explosive center of it all. Surrounded by so much passion and so much hurt, it is only in Archer's silence that he and Bree might just find what they need to heal and finally live. Oh my gosh, this book, for those who are listening, don't see visuals, I have a special edition. I don't own many, but this book really hit me straight in my heart. And I had to get it because it was just so beautiful. The special edition I have has a dark blue cover. It has these like beautiful dandelion, like gold kind of detailing, and it's actually annotated. So inside of the book is notes from the author about like certain parts of the chapter, why she added certain things, what she was picturing. And it's just so, so beautiful. I've also had the opportunity to DM with Mia a little bit, and the author is so sweet. So I just absolutely am so happy to read this. But that was my list of recommendations for anyone who is planning on reading the 9-month contract. This is like my full book stack. It's around, I think, 4 or 5 books. So there's quite a few. But in that sense, the 9-month contract is absolutely amazing. I hope you don't fall into a book slump after reading it if you do end up diving in. And if you don't want to read the 9-month contract, totally understand. You can always grab one of these and kind of fall into love with these amazing books. So please follow and like. You can follow me on Instagram. I will link it below. You can also like this if you're on YouTube. Give a sweet little rating on Spotify, subscribe, follow, and thank you so, so much for listening.